After drafting a point guard in the first round of the 2020 NBA entry draft and a shooting guard in the second round of that draft, the Toronto Raptors are certainly looking for the point guard of the future. So, is Malachi Flynn going to be the guy that replaces Kyle Lowry as starting point guard for the Toronto Raptors? Let's get into it. Welcome to Amateur Sports, where we give you NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors 4 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Thank you so much for the support that has been pouring on the channel over the last little while. I'm very grateful for everybody who has hit that subscribe button, who watches the videos, who enjoys the content, and just enjoys watching me talk about the Raptors, because this is what I really love to do. We talked about the first game of the preseason on Sunday. If you did watch that video, you knew that I wouldn't be able to make a video talking about the second preseason game. I'm actually recording this on the Sunday as well. Unfortunately, I'm busy this week. I won't be able to do the normal Wednesday upload talking about the game. This video will come out on the Wednesday. However, I don't know what happened in that second preseason game, so any stats I talk about will only be from the first game against the Charlotte Hornets. Just keep that in mind that at this point in time, I have not seen that second preseason game. So today we are talking about Malachi Flynn. Is he poised to take over that starting point guard spot for Kyle Lowry? Not this season, but in the future, after this season, the 2021-2022 season. Is that Malachi Flynn's time to be a starting guard in the NBA? So what we saw from the first game, the first preseason game, Malachi Flynn looks NBA ready. On offense, crafty with the ball, great at shooting, can find his guys, make good passes, can get up to the interior, other than his first play where he missed an easy layup, then bricked both free throws. Other than that, Malachi Flynn looked great, looked NBA ready, and on defense, looked fantastic, was getting steals, was disrupting plays. I was very happy with what I saw from Malachi Flynn. I thought before the game that he would be NBA ready, and it just confirmed it in that first game. And the Raptors, who are trying to go pursue a max free agent in the next offseason, like Giannis, like a Giannis Antetokounmpo, so many things going on with Giannis. We talked about him very recently on the channel, the video that did very well, if you want to go check that out. But the Raptors, who want to give a guy like Giannis that max deal, are they really going to be able to keep Kyle Lowry on the roster? Kyle Lowry is going to make about $30 million this season. In fact, even more than that. So will Kyle Lowry take enough of a pay cut to allow us to sign that max free agent? I'm not so sure about that. Kyle Lowry still has a lot to offer in the NBA, so I think he's going to be looking for his money elsewhere. Maybe a Philadelphia 76ers, go back to his hometown. We don't know. What we do know is that we probably can't afford to keep him. So maybe what we tried to do in that NBA draft is find his replacement, give him a year for Kyle Lowry to take him under his wing, teach him some things about winning, playing winning basketball, because that's what Kyle Lowry does best. He is an absolute winner on the court, whether it be on offense, points, assists, rebounds, whether it be on defense, getting charges, getting steals. Just the little nuances of his game make Kyle Lowry so special as a winner for the Toronto Raptors. When we drafted Malachi Flynn, I thought his player comparable was definitely Fred VanVleet. And I thought that at that moment, we hadn't signed Fred VanVleet to his free agent contract. At that point, I thought we had just drafted Fred VanVleet's replacement, and that Fred VanVleet wasn't going to return as a Toronto Raptor. But actually, looks like Fred VanVleet is here to stay. Malachi Flynn is the point guard of the future, and that Kyle Lowry is potentially the one on the way out. Now, Malachi Flynn, 29th overall pick, still a lot to learn. He was Mountain West Conference Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. That's incredible. However, in the Mountain West Conference, not the most competitive conference. So a lot to learn still if he wants to be a real starting point guard in the NBA. And who better to learn from than two guys who already done it, already won an NBA championship, Fred VanVleet and Kyle Lowry. Fred VanVleet, a guy who even got a Finals MVP vote. He was the one vote that didn't give Kawhi Leonard that unanimous Finals MVP. So Fred VanVleet had a special run in the playoffs. They know how to get it done. Kyle Lowry was excellent in Game 6 of that NBA Finals series where we clinched it, putting up 26 points. There was no better set of guards to learn about playing for the Raptors and playing winning basketball than these two guys. So Malachi Flynn gets to experience and learn from these two guys throughout the entire season. Now, Malachi Flynn, one of the problems is he's a little bit undersized at about 6'1", 6'2". Also undersized is Fred VanVleet. So are we going to pursue a future where both our guards are a little bit undersized? Nick Nurse does a good job of hiding the undersized guards, but how will he fare in hiding two of these undersized guards at the same time. I think we will have to see in that regard over the course of this season. Maybe if Kyle Lowry gets injured, will we see a lot more of Fred VanVleet and Malachi Flynn playing together, and how is that going to look? I think we're going to see a lot more zonal play, and also I think Fred VanVleet can guard above his size. He did in the Boston Celtics series at times, having to guard Jason Tatum. I thought that was a bit of a peculiar decision from Nick Nurse to put him there. However, did all right. I think we struggled early on in that series, but eventually kind of clamped down, but it was a little bit too late. The Raptors fell behind and couldn't quite claw back, eventually losing in that heartbreaking Game 7. But we know that Fred VanVleet can guard a little bit above his size and that Nick Nurse can hide these guys. I would like to see if he's able to hide both of these undersized guards at the same time, but that is something that remains to be seen. We may not even lose Kyle Lowry at the end of his contract. Maybe he will stay. I just think at this present moment, I feel like Kyle Lowry won't be a Raptor beyond this season, and it's very sad. It's very sad to think of. He's the greatest Raptor of all time. There really aren't many who have given this great service for this period of time to the Toronto Raptors. Really orchestrated this movement over the last decade or so, putting the Raptors in a position where they are contending every year. And in those big moments when we needed him most, he was clutch, hitting big shots. He was huge in that Celtics series to even get it to 7 games. And he was huge in the NBA Finals for the Raptors to even get that NBA championship. But sometimes you have to think about the benefit and future of your franchise. And if you can land a max free agent like Giannis in the upcoming free agency, unfortunately, you do have to make those gut-wrenching decisions to not extend somebody like Kyle Lowry. It hurt losing Serge Ibaka in this offseason. Imagine losing somebody like Kyle Lowry. That would be awful. But it seems like the Raptors are preparing for that to be the case after drafting Malachi Flynn, and it looks like he is a guy who's going to be impactful. That's a good word. Impactful in the NBA. I think he's going to have a good impact on the Raptors this season, and I think he's going to have a bigger impact. He's going to grow into a better player next season. Already 22 years old. These days, that's a little bit old to be a rookie. However, I like drafting guys like that because you know what you're going to get out of them. There's no question mark or variable about the potential. You know what they are. You know what they can become. You have a much better idea of what the player is. And Malachi Flynn, I think we know what we're getting out of him. We're getting a defensive stalwart, a guy who can get steals and can take those steals in transition and create offense, whether it be from himself pulling up for a 3, whether it be himself in a pick and roll where he statistically thrives, or finding a great pass. People talked about how he's not that athletic, coming through the draft. There were talks about his athleticism, how maybe he wasn't that athletic. I feel like anytime there's a bit of an undersized point guard coming in, you always talk about how, maybe he's not that athletic. There's no way that Malachi Flynn, there's no way you're the player of the year and defensive player of the year in your conference. There's no way you're the defensive player of the year in your conference without athleticism. You need to be athletic in order to create those disruptions on defense, in order to get those steals. So Malachi Flynn, he's already athletic, and I think he's going to get even more athletic. What I think he can work on, this is something Fred VanVleet also needs to work on, is getting points in the interior. We haven't seen enough about Malachi Flynn in the NBA to see how he's going to do with that, but just kind of a testament to what Fred VanVleet does. Sometimes he tries to force the offense by himself, tries to go amongst the trees where he's really out of his element and can't hit his shots, causes a little bit of problems for the Raptors. We saw early on in that first game against the Hornets where Fred was trying to force things, especially when Charlotte were on that 22-0 run, and it was getting frustrating. He was trying to make everything happen by himself. That was one of his downfalls in the Boston Celtics series. We can't let that happen to Malachi Flynn. Needs to have a little bit more control in himself, and I'm sure Fred VanVleet is working on this as well. A little bit more control in themselves to create and make sure we're running good plays. But Malachi Flynn already looks like a highly intelligent player on both ends of the court. I have the confidence that if we do lose Kyle Lowry after this season, Malachi Flynn will be able to take that role in stride and be a great player for the Toronto Raptors. This is all off one preseason game, but I'm excited for the future with Malachi Flynn. We'll see what happens over the course of the season. Maybe my opinions on him will change, but at this present moment, I feel good about that draft pick. The Raptors, definitely got a W in that draft. So this video right now, I've only seen game 1 against the Charlotte Hornets. If you are watching this, you have likely seen that second game against the Charlotte Hornets. Maybe things have changed since then, but let me know your thoughts and opinions on Malachi Flynn in the comments down below. Do you think he is poised to replace Kyle Lowry? Do you think we're going to be able to keep Kyle Lowry if we get a max free agent like Giannis in the next offseason? Let me know all your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. But that wraps it up from me today. Thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, please like the video if you like, and subscribe to Amateur Sports for more content just like this. Like we were saying before, NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors 4 days a week. Thank you so much for the support coming in. Make sure you join the movement as well for these vlog or video podcast style uploads that I produce consistently. And as we get into the full swing of the Toronto Raptors season, there's going to be even more fun content coming out. At the end of the day, I believe what I say. If you disagree, that is okay. We'll see you again next time for another video.